as it is in the Hashemayim.
Yes.
Give us this day our daily lesson, and forgive us our debt, Abba Yahweh, and we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, Abba Yahweh. For yours is the Malkut, the power, and the honor, Abba Yahweh, forever, Abba Yahweh. So be it, Abba Yahweh. May it be fulfilled in the precious mighty name of YHWH HaMashiach. Baruch Yomalak, and he speaks to the nation, Abba Yahweh, to stand, Abba Yahweh, and see your Yashak, Abba Yahweh. Root and tear down, Abba Yahweh. Not only here, but every four corners of the earth, Abba Yahweh. Let his voice reach your people tonight, Abba Yahweh, as he proclaim your admit the wisdom of you, Abba Yahweh. In the precious mighty name of YHWH HaMashiach, I pray. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. We do greet you all in the blessed name of YHWH HaMashiach, and in that promise of the promises of Yah that we have knowledge of that through his Torah. I want you all that you kind of monitor that, because it blows. Maybe if we turn them outwardly so the heat will blow around. We want to make sure that the elders stay warm, but it blasts me straight on. Yes, thank you, son. TODAH. I'm glad to be home. I know that. Just enjoy the fellowship. Yah's great riches in YHWH HaMashiach. A delight. I love being home. I don't like to go nowhere, to be honest. I'm not one that likes to go and do this and do that. I like being at home. And this is not just something happened because I got older. I've always liked being at home. I always love being at home. What a great delight that is. I want to teach tonight YisraYah'ale, that traveled down the highway coming home. There was one word that resonated in my mind consistently and constantly, because it deals with the attitude of a nation, a people, those things that we neglect. We're not attentive to those things. And it is the small thing, or the smallest of things, which is the haptan, things that are not noticeable. We cannot conceptualize them. We don't see them because we do not believe that they are important. And so we give no attention to those things. Let me say, not in some kind of verbose. I'm one that have always paid attention to the smallest element, as the Torah calls it the dah, that which is unseen and just so minute. Unless one is careful in the examination of a thing, they will miss it. And we miss those things in our own labor, in our own minds. I want to show us something tonight. I want to teach us profoundly from the Torah. I want us to understand the depth of that small thing and the thing that is smallest among us, that there should be an attentiveness to that. I want to begin here in the writings of the professor, wise scholar of Torah in Sirach. You'll understand as I proceed in this teaching. But in the writing of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 15, Sirach 5:15, I want us to comprehend what this master of Torah wrote unto us for this time and season that we're in. He says this profoundly. He says, in greats gadol, those things that exceed beyond our mental conception and ability to understand the depths of that. For instance, and I will go to the extreme, How many of us understand the dynamics of aerodynamics? What makes a plane flies, and the turbines that propel that massive machine into the heavens with hundreds of people aboard. I know I went to the extreme on that, but Sirach says, in great and small. Do you understand that? He calls one matter great, he says, and in small matters, in small things that are not, they do not amount to much in our thinking, we do not pay attention to them, especially when it comes to that infraction of transgression against Yah. We think that it is very small because it is I. And so my transgressions, my sins, and the things that are presented to me, they are minute, they are minuscule, they have no value at all, but they are equated the same. It's no different than a great matter or a small matter. He tells us, do not act YHWH. Do not act amiss. Do not neglect. Do not be attentive. Do not be remissive. And do not look at that as though that it is wrong. That is our makeup, our disposition. That's the way we look at things. This is small because everything concerning you, it is a small thing. When you notice that there is something that is very noticeable to you about you, you don't act amiss. You don't neglect to take care of that matter. And we as a nation of people, we have grown to neglect. We do not pay attention. We pay attention to others. We don't pay attention to me. And see, because my matters are small, your matters are great. You look at someone else and you determine that it is tantamount. It is a great matter. But when it comes to me, the matter is small. So he commands us. He instructs us, irregardless of the matter, the thing, whether it is small or great, it must be given the equal attention to both matters. I was discussing with YisraYah'ale this morning. I worked in the greenhouse some yesterday, and I am a person that always examine the methodology I use or the patterns that I use. I always time myself on everything. I don't care what it is. I time myself to see how long it takes me to do it. Whether it's painting or anything, how long would it take me to paint that? So always the smallest of things, the incremental things, are always engaged in timing, see what it takes, because if one is attentive to that small thing, there is nothing that is gadol, great, insurmountable, that one will not be attentive to. And if you cannot be attentive in the smallest of matters, you're not going to be attentive in a matter that supersedes your ability, your spirituality to handle that thing. You must begin at the smallest of matters. You must examine the small thing, and the smallest of things where? Here. It begins with me, in you, in your mind, in your ruach. And if we understand that there is a matter, then we cannot be remiss. We cannot do it or perform in a mindset of amiss, that we neglect to take care of that matter. I often say to the little ones, tie up your shoes. Right, you got to fall, you got to hurt yourself. I always do that, nation. And when there's a small matter that concerns me, I give it the same attention as I do something that is large, it is huge, that it is insurmountable, that I cannot overcome. But unless you can overcome and deal with the small essence of things, you can't deal with those things that are monumental. I will prove that in Torah. That's why YHWH gives us that. I don't care what the matter is. I don't care what your commitment is. Whether it's a small matter, you don't act amiss. You don't neglect. You don't say, well, it is of no value. No, no, no. That's not how it works. But that's the way we work. I want to show us something here in Shemoth. See, in the small matter, you cannot recognize, if you do not deal with the smallest of matter, you cannot deal with the substance of the riches and the abundance of Yah. I want to show us an example here. In Shemoth, Exodus chapter 16, verse 14. It is the small thing that produces. It is the smallest of seeds that produce. The smallest of seeds produce a gigantual plant, and that's a fact. I've been planting too long to see the diminutive size of things and what it produces and the wealth of that. And so I'm very attentive. I will put 2 seeds in each cell. Well, I will come back and cut one out. But I know that there is if it's 98% germination rate, I will get a plant. And so that small seed that you think that is of insignificant in your sight, there's another one just like it. And there's another one. And they're going to begin to produce things that are vile and sadistic against you. Look at what Yah did here in Exodus 16:14. Yah says to a rebellious people, he began to cause the dew. When the dew that lay was gone, there was dew that came upon the ground, the refreshing of Yah. Behold, upon the face of the wilderness, there lay a dach, a small. You understand that? It is something that is so small, it is fine. You can't hardly see it. There's seeds that I plant, they're so small. I do need a magnifying glass. But how do I know how many seeds? And I am precise. I am precise to drop exactly. If I'm dropping one, I'm precise. Because it is the feel of those seeds. I know what they feel like on the tip of my finger. And I grab it, I can drop 2 and 2. It's a system. It is something that is methodical, that over the years I have paid attention. They did not pay attention to the great riches and the blessings of Yah. We do not pay attention to the great thing. He destroyed the army of Pharaoh. We don't pay attention to that. It has no pertinence of value at all. And he caused the dew to fall. He did not create something that was gargantuous. He created something that was dach. It was the food of the melachim. And then he placed it on the ground that they could find it. So whatever the smallest of things, things that are in our minds that corrupt us, we can eradicate ourselves from that. You will never overcome the major things in our personality, in our juvenile ways, unless you began with the smallest of things. And I will tell you what the smallest of that thing is. It is I. It is you. It is you. It is you. It is me personally. It is you personally. It is I. And so that's why there are things that you count as major, that they will cause you to act in a way that it's not the thing that caused you to act that way. It's you that caused you to act that way. Turn that off for a minute. You all right back there, Mama? You on? You all right, YHWH? Okay, because I am burning up here. Glad I didn't wear that wool jacket that I was going to wear. Hallelujah. He said, there lay upon the face of the earth small dach. They were little things that refined, round thing, as small as a hoard frost on the ground. You've seen frost on the ground. Unless there is a collectiveness of frost, you cannot tell the singular molecule structure of some frost. And it laid upon the ground. And because they were not attentive to the great things that YHWH commanded them, and they acted amiss, they neglected. We're not ones that neglect, do we? We don't neglect our spiritual growth and our consistent and a desire, a passion to fulfill what Yah commands us according to Torah. So because they were not engaged in appreciation with the massive things that Yah did, he knew that they would not appreciate that small morsel of bread. And so when they saw that the children of YisraYah'ale saw it, they said one unto another, is it manna? It implies that, what is it? Because it says, for they knew not what it was. And because of our attentiveness, we can't pay attention to Yah. We're not attentive to the small things. When those things are spoken to us, Yah elevate those small things. We ask the question, was he talking to me? Is this for me? What is he saying? It has no meaning. It has no purpose. Do I need that? Because they did not pay attention to the great things of Yah. That's why YHWH commands us, irregardless of that thing, whether it is small or great, you do not participate in that thing in a miss. Inshallah, you do not neglect that. I want to show us some of the things. You don't neglect those things, nation. You don't forget about those small things. They asked the question because they didn't know what it was. And Moshe said to them, this is the lecture, the bread, the food, which Yah gave, he gives unto us to achal, to eat, to devour. What is it that he gives us to devour? His lechem, his bread of life. The revelation and the Torah of YHWH HaMashiach. He takes up the most minute space in our minds because our hearts don't think on him. Our minds don't care about him. He doesn't take much of our time because he is not of any value. And in that kind of importance unto us, nation. And that must change. We're not going into the kingdom. If the Sadiq, the righteous of Yah, scarcely make it, what shall those that are evil and those that are rasha, wicked, where shall they appear? We must understand that. And so those things that are small, they continue to, with momentum, they tend to grow strong and mighty. And because you did not pay attention to that small thing, then you become bloated with corruption that is so evil and sadistic that our minds cannot be transformed. It cannot. And it will not until one begins the true examination of the smallest of things that catapulted them into that kind of attitude and that kind of spirit. You must constantly examine that little thing in you. You must always examine the little thing that is in you with the same magnitude that you examine perceivably by you the great or the huge thing that is in me or in your neighbors. YHWHSHUA. He cautions us against one thing, how that we as a nation should not take one another to the law of the wicked. But yet, hold up, yet you will adjudicate things in your wicked mind, will you not? You will adjudicate things with unfairness, unrighteousness, with no kindness, with no kind of love, with compassion. Let's get real. This was not just about adjudicating a case before the heathens, the goyim, the nations that are ignorant, that you offer your hot before someone that is unjust. Our minds are unjust. Our minds do unjustly things. Our minds will do things that are not just according to Yah's Torah. So it has more than the implication of taking an act or a daughter to the custodian of a violent, corrupt system of laws. But our mind is corrupt, and our minds do not adjudicate by Torah, then our adjudication is false. Is that right? Our perception is wrong. The way we perceive and think is evil, is wicked, and is wrong. And we have all done that. And thinking because I am great. I have never thought like that. I have never wanted to be like that. I have never taken any kind of pleasure in things like that, because I don't want to have no spotlight, if you may say. I was talking to my friend the other night. I said that we have a mentor here, not like the one that I grew up under. My mentor was by his wife, not fox fur, but genuine fur coats, diamond rings. I didn't do that. Have not done that for my wife. My mentor were by $1,000 rings that would just flash in the heavens. I've never done that. My mentor would take the funds and spend it lavishly on him. I've never done that. My mentor would buy his wife pearls and diamonds and verbose. I've never done that. My mentor said Christmas is all right to celebrate, and he will not buy his children some little arcade game with whereby the young ones have here. He would purchase them the consoles, video games. And I said, you have a mentor that has lived honestly before you with sincerity and uprightness. And if I had had that like I have now, I would have been far above the curve of things in this hour. You have a pattern and an example. This is what we do. We don't do it in this fashion, but we do it in the fashion here, in our minds, in the corrupt place of our labor. Shaul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 1. He makes the statement, I dare any of you having a matter. I want to express this Greekish form, any kind of pragma, any type of question of an affair, or anything that is accommodated by fact. If you have a matter, it must be factual. It cannot be suspicious. It cannot be something that you have adjudicated in a mind that is corrupt, evil, and you have not taken care of the small things that are in you that have built up this monumental pride and deceit in me. He says, you have a matter against another, and you go to the law of the krino. You go to those that have no power to adjudicate. You go to them for their opinion, for their judgment, for their thinking. Now that is what he is saying here when he talks about the law. We don't go to the law of Torah. And the law of Torah will adjudicate me first to bring the offering that is proper before Yah. And that offering is one of repentance and is examining one's own heart to see if there be anything that is evil and surmising in me. And he said, you go before the ATTENTIVENESS. You go before those that are unjust, those that are unrighteous, those that are sinful and full of deceit. Let me ask you a question. Your mind never pondered those kinds of things or have produced deceit. I'm quite sure it hasn't. It has never produced lies and corruption. Your mind never considered that which is unrighteous, and you can lie at the drop of the hat. There's something evil when you can lie so easily. I've never liked lying. Even when I was a kid, I lied, but I felt bad. Never been a liar. Never. That's why when I say I've never lied to my wife, y'all be my witness. I've never lied. I've never tried to hide anything. There's only one thing I hid, but I told the truth. When I went to see Larry home, take on Jerry Cooney, I took half a day's vacation. I had to see it. I come home, changed my clothes, hid them under the bed, and I went to see that fight. And I got home about the time I would get off from work anyway. They were coming in from the revival. And there was such a condemnation in my heart, because if I had kept that secretive, what I would not have kept secretive. And I just confess. And my mentor said, you know you're wrong and wicked. I said, sir, beyond that. That's why I'm telling you all the truth. He said, you know I got to ask you, who won? You did wrong, but I want to know who won. And then we engage in conversation. I've never done anything like that again in my life. So if we are not a people that will not search the smallest of things in our minds, and we judge one according to a small or this monumental thing of the small bits about you that have corrupted you so that you can't even see you, then you're sick. It's not going out here and calling a deputy sheriff. It is the law of your mind. It is the law of your corruption that is evil. He says you do that and you don't even come before Beth Din of YisraYah'ale. You don't come before the people of Yah. You will adjudicate your emotions, your feeling with those that are corrupt, wicked, don't even know Yah, and you trust them to bring about a lawful response to you. I've never done that. In all of my life, I've never done that. And all of my life has been spent walking this way. I'm just being honest. He says, do you not know that the YisraYah'ale, they shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest? Elachitos. Are we unable to judge the smallest? And elachitos means that it is very small. It is unmeasurable. It has no value of size, time, moment, circumstance. And you tell me the smallest of things, you account yourself as unworthy to judge that thing. And it begins in the house. In Beyat, Din Beyat YisraYah'ale. It begins in our own minds. We must start there. Why? Because judgment always began at the Beyat, the house. That's where Yah's began. And so if Yah's judgment began in the house, are we not bad YisraYah'ale? So judgment began here with us. And if we do not have the ability to adjudicate the smallest of things, those things that are minute in their presentation, then we are very sad people. That's what he said. You can't adjudicate anything from a mind that is violently corrupt, sinful, and without any regard unto Yah. You cannot adjudicate it from that. Know ye not, verse 3, that we shall judge the Melechim? How much more things that pertain to life? Why is it so difficult for us to judge the smallest of things? We're fearful. We have no certainty of our honesty of judgment. I have no problems with being judged. One writes to me today and calls me a wicked man. Well, I made sure I left that up for others to see. I don't have no problem with that. Not one iota. You are a wicked man. Then I would think that knowing that I'm wicked, why would you listen to me? That's silly to me. I like those kinds of comments. I like those kinds of statements that people make against me. I love it, not like it. I love it, honestly, because it doesn't affect me at all, because it is the smallest of things. If you cannot gauge the small thing, when something is tantamount, beyond your ability to comprehend the depths and the fibers of it, it takes every little small thing in the process of calculation to do anything. You cannot build or make the carpet that's here unless you start with a singular fiber, a thread, and they interact, and that's how it's done. Our body, the human makeup, it is done with small microbiotics that you can't even see with the eyes. But it is the collectiveness of that brings about this physical form. And so it is in our minds, nation. If we do not adjudicate those small things by way of Torah, then we will become hardened and sadistic and wicked, and we will do things that we have no ability to overcome. It's a fact. I wanted to teach tonight the hasting of sin, what hasting does. But I couldn't get this out of my mind, so when I got home, I immediately began to research Torah. And there's not a lot in the book that speaks on this. But day and hours, he will reveal to you what is important. He will. Let me give us this important factor of this spirit of our neglecting those things that Yah commands us in the smallest of matters. That is what Shalah implies. That the Hebraic word shol, sholo, or sholah, it implies that there is a neglecting, to forget, to not attend to. And I want to show us a few verses here. The one is in Yesha. I want you all to ride with me, all right? The book of Yesha, Yesha 76 and verse 37. It talks about Pharaoh here, the small things that we neglect. At the time, the two ministers of Pharaoh came from the land of Goshen, where all the children of YisraYah'ale were, and went to the house of Pharaoh and said to him, we have seen the children of YisraYah'ale. They have slackened in their work, and they they mislead. That is what neglect is. When we neglect ourselves, we will mislead ourselves into lies and corruption. Well, I did this. I'm bona fide to present this great persona. But he says, the work, and they have shala, they have neglect, they have given no attention to that. They are misleading in their approach in their labor. And we know what Pharaoh did to the children of YisraYah'ale, that they had to go and find their own straw to make the bricks and to make sure that there was sufficient that was needed for their labor. And so the labor became even much more tedious and tactful. And that's the way it is when that thing began to blossom in our lives, because we have not paid attention to it. Can I give us an example? We would tell a small lie. Mr. Trump's personal aide said there are sometimes you have to tell a little small white lie. As a child, we were taught it's a white lie, that you give regard to the whiteness of a lie, fact of the matter. And we would say that, well, he told a little small lie. A lie is a lie. I don't care if you do anything to deceive or to twist the actuality of a matter for your favor or to discount what others, it's a lie. You know that's the spirit of the devil. And when we can so easily lie for ourselves and lie against, there's something deceitful there. Can I tell us this quickly? I remember her father when he moved to Charlotte. He had not taken care of the necessary things of getting the tags changed for his vehicle. And we were riding together one day because I love the way Brother Fred drives. I love him to take me places and things. And the police pulled us over. Brother Fred had been here for 6 months. 7 months. So the officer asked him, how long have you been here? You know you have 30 days to change over from one state, driver's license, tags, and all of that. So he asked him, how long have you been here? Have you been here longer than 30 days? And before he could think the fear of the circumstance, he said, no, sir. And I'm sitting there, I knew it was a lie. And when the police let us go, Brother Fred began to weep. He began to cry. And I said, Brother Fred, how many would have done the same thing you did? Don't do it again. Come on, my friend, just be honest. Tell the truth about that. You will be amazed at what truth will grant to you. It far exceeds a lie. I said to a man yesterday, we were talking, and I asked him a question. I said, sir, listen. You answer the question yes or no. I don't need all that hee-haw and humming. You either yes or no. Well, yes. And so you were directed in a lie. Well, I said, now you just answered yes, and now you want to give some reason to justify that. That's the way we is. We want to explain the reason instead of answering it. Let our answers be yes or no. Anything more, it's a sin, it's corruption in me, and I will lie, I will do all kinds of things to do what? To protect me. Yes, YisraYah'ale's protector. And so he said, they have become negligent. We neglect. The Torah tells us not to neglect the embracing and fellowship of one another. Let me go to Peter right quick. Second Kepha, Peter. This is what he looked forward to. He looked forward to his approach of, it's amazing, of his departure. Look what he says in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 12. He said, wherefore, I will not shala, I will not misguide you. We've never done that, have we? You misguided someone by interjecting one word to make a falsification of the statement, of the idea, what you were trying to convey. You can't do that, nation. You cannot mislead someone or misguide someone. You cannot, as we would say, you cannot embellish. You cannot fabricate. Be honest. He says, I will not be negligent to put you always in remembrance. There are things that you must be reminded of, though you know them, and be established in the present truth of now. You know them, but I will not neglect the calling and the purpose of Yah to remind you of those things that are most valuable, most important. And you must understand that the smallest of things is most valuable. It is most important. It is of great consequences. Because if you do not have the aptitude nor the attitude to take care of the smallest of things, you're not going to take care of that which is major. You're not going to do it. I examine my time. I examine everything. I measure everything. I see everything. I put numbers to everything. And it's a fact. That's the way I do things. I will do a seed tray. I know exactly how long it takes me to do one. And so I try in the process to refine that to get it done faster. I was saying to my friend, I spent quite a bit of time yesterday looking for things, trying to enhance the little small business we have for the community, to refine the time of the achim. And things that will assist in a great way and reduce the labor, the stress. We can't do it. And I know what to do. I know how to do it. And it can be done. It's not something that is paramount. It can be done. And we can do not some things, but all things. So YHWH that gives us that strength or reinforce or fortify us with what? The knowledge of Torah. That we just simply walk in that. And don't try to walk outside of that or obfuscate the command of Torah. And you will always find yourself in a place whereby there's a consistency of growth, beauty, and maturity. Something is wrong with us. If there is not a growth and a beauty and a maturity, something is wrong with us, nation. Because people are going to watch, and they will look, and they will wonder, and they will question, who is that man? Who is he? That's a fact. YisraYah'ale. No doubt about that. None whatsoever. So we cannot neglect. It is important to realize that the small things are very valuable. Baruch, first Baruch, chapter 1, verse 19. Look at what the prophet says. First Baruch. I said to us, because the nation, they did not, or they were not attentive to the major things. You can never be attentive to the small things. Baruch says, since the day, first Baruch 1:19, since the day that Yah brought our forefathers out of the land of Mizraim, unto this present day, we have been disobedient unto Yah, our Almighty One. Have we not been? We have been very defiant and very disobedient. Why? And we have been negligent in hearing his voice. We have neglected that calling or command. When we hear the voice of Yah, when we hear the Torah of Yah, we don't harden our hearts like our forefathers did in the wilderness. So if we allow that small matter to persist and consist in our lives, it's because we're negligent. We're negligent. We have negated to take care of those things. And we must begin every day and every second of the day an examination of me. There are things we cannot neglect. We can neglect the care of the nation. This is how the nation shall know you're my people, that you really have a love one for another. And I know phony, fake love. You can't love the nation. You can't love a wife, man. You can't love the nation, woman. You can't love no husband. That's just a fact. If you're not kind to the nation, you can't be kind to no husband. If you're not kind to the nation, you cannot be kind to your wife. I said to our Zachin while I was there with him, he wanted to give gifts. I said, hold on to that for me. There was someone that wrote me, and I'm quite sure I mentioned this to us, and said they wanted to send a gift to him and us. I didn't answer them. I didn't want the gift. I did not send the address, so his son sent the address, and the person sent the monies there. And we were talking, he said, that reminds me, I got some money for you that someone said. I said, hold on to it for me. I'll get it if I need it. Don't worry about it. You use it. You use it here if I need it. I know where to call and ask for some assistance. You understand? So we cannot neglect nation and not hearing the voice of Yah. How? And what is one of the most important sounds of his voice? Do we know? I would tell you. Yah is Yada. He is known by the Ruach of Mishpat, of judgment. That's the way you're going to know him, when he judges you. And he consistently and persistently and constantly judges us. If there's no judgment upon you, then something is wrong. If there is no condemnation of one, Yah is greater than our hearts, our tongue, when we condemn ourselves. He's greater than that. But if there's not that on you, something is wrong. Something is sick in you. Come on, nation. You tell me you've never judged someone with severity and harshness. Quit. Don't be a hypocrite. My mother pointed out one thing to me. Judge ye not that you be judged. I say, read on down what the Yaakov says, though. I say, I can stand to be judged by your judgment with the same nature that I judge this, you, or anyone. I want you to judge me that way. And so we have always judged others by what we think is greater than the small matter that is the canker in your mind. Love is more than some verbiage. I often say you can't feel love, but you can feel it. Love has this attachment, this association that causes that thing that is of care to rise from one's bosom. You know it's love. You know that. You know it's love. You don't have the expressive terminology to express it. It just can't be expressed. You look at the heavens, that's love. Yah is love, isn't he? Give us a cold day today, but it's still love. Let me move quickly. One more, what wisdom, Shlomo, a very wise man. I'm dealing with the neglect, the small things that we neglect. Wisdom chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, quickly. He says to Yah, is what Shlomo says, for your immortal Ruach is in all things. For the Ruach, the life of Yah, is in all things. Whether it's the rock or the tree, in all things. But look what he says. He said, therefore, do you correct us, mi'ats, little? Hardly, it's not, it is a scanting thing. You correct us little by little. Why? Who have transgressed us. See, the little things are great value. And do remind. That's what it is. And so the little things ought to remind us. Not only are they to remind us, but to warn them of the things wherein they have sinned. Wherein they have sinned. How have we sinned? Just like Baruch said, what I just read, that we have neglect in not hearing Shemach. Shemach. To hear with one desire, and that is obedience, and to obey the voice of Almighty Yah, that we may be free from wickedness and put our trust in you, O Yah. We must. Unless we understand the depths and the beauty of the little things, the small things, the dak, the mi'ats that are small, that are refined, that are so little, they're insignificant. There is no substance there, but they're very important. They are very important, nation. And we must hear those things. Unless we hear the voice of Yah, then woe unto us. That's why a nation that is stagnant and no growth, and there's no strength of beauty and maturity among us as a nation. You know, Zakin said to me, he said to me, Re'ak, I asked my father because my mother died. And my father never married. And he said there was more than enough seniors, the elderly ladies, that had no husband and that were faithful to him. And I asked him, why you never married when mother died? And he says to me, and this just overwhelmed me when he said that. He says, son, I wasn't going to marry no other woman. And he was not an old man. He said to him, if there's anything, quote, as a soulmate, she was mine, and I will wait for the promise of Yah. When he said that, it overwhelmed me. You know, the tears filled my heart. Because it's difficult for people to believe that men have that kind of love and passion. I will never marry again. Never. No woman. And I will not have someone coming to my home cleaning it out. And there will be no sister coming in my house. None. The young ones when they get married, but that's the way I am. You all got awful quiet. That blessed me to hear that from him. He said he never married Rhea. And he died that way. Because his love for his wife was so great, it was of such magnitude, he never married. I will never marry a God. Fact. Fact. That's fact. Hallelujah. I want to share that with you. Let me move on because I want to finish this if I can tonight. Hallelujah. For the trips, make sure you all have enough energy for tomorrow. Okay. Hallelujah. Let me begin here in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I want to show us something here in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. YHWH speaks so profoundly of the resurrection, YHWH from the grave, because he wanted to emphasize something that is very valuable. He says to us in 1 Corinthians 15:18, he says, and the last of all those men that seen of me, also as one born out of time, or one that was ignorant and imperfect, and one that was not trained well. He says, I am the least of all the YHWH. What a profound statement. You see his position he took upon that. If you're great and want to be great, I want to be great. I want to be great. I want to have greatness beyond monumental. You understand why? Can I tell you why? I want to be great. Will you believe me? Because the book says that he that is great among you, let him serve. You want to be great, let that one serve the nation and serve one another. That is greatness in the counsel of Almighty Yah. So I want to be great. I want to serve the nation. I want to be kind and affectionate to Yah's nation, or Elachitos. He said that I'm the least and the very smallest of all the Shulishia. That I'm not meet to be called an apostle, a Shulishah, because I persecuted the congregation of Yah. Now just think where he brought you from. 1 Corinthians 5:9. Every kind of violent reproach, every kind of sin, every kind of ill, every kind of activity that was violent against him. You tell me I'm going to have disdain for my act and to hold some kind of contemptuous mindset against the nation. These are the things that would destroy the essence of an individual, a people, and a nation. But Shaul knew one thing. It was by the free, unmerited hava and favor of Yah. Verse 10. I am what I am. You're nothing but what Yah has made you by his kindness. You were a dirty, filthy sinner, and we are still dirty. Our flesh is rotten, it stinks, it is profusive in its odor if you don't bathe. And your breath will smell like mine with stinkiness and stunkness. It's violent that our bodies will smell just like death. And so for one to have contempt for another, not realizing how small, and those small things that we have allowed to multiply in our minds, that we become captive to that power. So it's almost like a man doesn't know how to say, I appreciate you, wife, I love you. A wife that cannot say, I love you, man. An aunt that cannot say, I appreciate you, aunt. Or daughter that cannot, with a flourish of kindness, of love that is felt, appreciate one another. That's evil. See, we all think we do that, though. You may get by some people, but you'll never get by me. And you cannot. Can I tell your daughter something? There's nothing more beautiful than a daughter. I love beautiful daughters. I do. I won't talk to them, but I know those that are not beautiful daughters. I've met them. I've seen them. Trip I was on. Leave it like that. I know beauty. And it is the small things that we neglect, we're not attentive to, that will cause a decay begins here. And our minds will become a rotten cesspool. We will smell rotten. We do things that are rotten. My grandmother would say, that's a rotten child. They didn't say, but they would say he's rotten. Bad little boy. That little gal is rotten to the core. You understand? Why? Because of their little disposition, their attitude, their personality. And they were called them rotten. And they were rotten. And people that say, well, every little baby, oh, she is so beautiful. I don't say that to children. We say she's precious or the child. I don't make those kind of comments. That's just me. Never have. No one can say I have, because I never have. Hear this, YisraYah'ale, what he says. Only about this free unmerited favor, verse 10, I am what I am, it is free unmerited Chavan favor, which he bestowed upon me, was not in vain. It was not sharp, it was not empty. But I labor. See what he says in verse 10 at the conclusion? But I worked, I labor more abundantly than you all. I prove my kindness and my love to you. I labor much more than you labored. I went out beyond my ability. I labored more than you all. Yet not I, but it is the kindness of the free unmerited Havan favor of Yah which was in me. You got to have this stuff in you. And when you have it in you, it responds, it produces. It produces, not momentarily, but it is consistently. And when one examined the small, he said, I am the least of all of you. I have nothing to verbose about. I have nothing, no one that is special. I have no special traits that are admirable. I persecuted YisraYah'ale. I sinned against Yah. I was a violent thing, and we all have been violent. You've sinned and done wickedly and wrong and corrupt. We've all done that. And those little things out there you thought were little, you didn't pay attention to them, did you? Because they were just innate. They were part of you. So there was no reason to look at it. You did wrong and it did not trouble you. When there is an infraction against Yah, it should trouble you greatly. I don't care what it is. It should trouble you. Because he sees all things, he hears all things, and you're not getting by. Listen, nation, you don't get by with nothing. And that little thing, it began to corrupt the essence of things, and it's going to grow into a tree. It's going to grow. It's going to produce. And it's going to produce a vile fruit. That's just the fact of the matter. Fact of the matter. So we must always be attentive to those small things. Because whether a thing is great or small, we must always, as a person, we must not neglect. Show the same attentiveness to the small thing as well as the great thing. Because there is a reward, the Torah speaks of that. Dibarim, quickly, Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 7. Look at what Moshe says here quickly, all right? Dibarim chapter 1 verse 17. Deuteronomy 1:17. We must, in the sense of the thing that is minute, small, katan, we must give it the same assessment and the same adjudication with honesty as that which is beyond our ability to comprehend. Look what he says here. Devarim 1:17. You shall not respect person in judgment. You understand that? And as in my judgment, my assessment of her is different than my judgment of you. And my judgment of him is different than my judgment of him. My judgment of you is different than my judgment of her. It cannot be. You cannot at all have a respect of anyone in judgment. That includes you. You respect what you do, don't you? Yes, we do. You respect your kindness because you think you're nice to everybody, don't we? I love everybody, you liar. I've never told that lie. That's a lie. That is a lie. People will say that to me. I said, okay, go. There's a man that needs someone to stay. Take him to your home, bathe him, let him bathe and feed him. Well, that's all what a man knows, because you're lying, man. I don't know how to love everyone. Yah commands me to love my neighbor. YisraYah'ale is I love myself. So my neighbors, I can love them. I don't know how to love someone else. And you say you love someone else, that's not honest. That's just not the truth. Yah doesn't love everyone. He loved Yaakov. He hated Sunday. He hated Esau. So he doesn't love everyone. All right? I don't know how to. I don't know how to hate someone. That's just me. Because things don't affect me like others. It doesn't take its tolls on me. You're boasting? No, I'm just being honest. That's why I'm attentive to the smallest of things. He says, you shall not respect person in judgment, but you shall hear the khatan, the small, that thing which is insignificant, has no value. You should hear the small as well as the great. You must hear the accolades that exude and exalt you, as well as the thing to remind you how small, how insignificant you are. Nation, I'm reminded of one thing. As Kepha, he knew that his time was close. I'm going to die just like you. You can want to live all you want to, but you're going to die. That's a fact. I saw in the paper this morning Mr. Hawkins at 76 years old. It says that his platform was the universe. This so crazy looking man that the world reveres, like a nasty looking snake, left his wife, put her away, and took upon the young woman. And he's been crippled, I know, like that for the last 25 years. Can't move, can't talk. And his children or adults, he left, put her away for a younger woman. The one that assisted him. And so he is the man that purported or let you know that life is beyond this. He's going to live. He's dead. He is dead as they come. You're going to die. Don't be a fool. And it is the little thing, it is the little bit of leaven, the sin of your evil ways. You're not going into the kingdom. I'm not taking a chance. I'd rather take this chance, be it wrong, this way, than the way that the whole world is going their way. He says, listen to what he says in Devarim, that you shall hear the small matter as well as the great, and you shall not be afraid of the face of a man, for the judgment is yours, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it to me. And Yah said, I will hear it. You got to be honest, forthright in the smallest of matters, as well as you in the matters that are large, that you don't know how to assess and how to judge. You can't be afraid to tell one, you're wrong, that's not how you do things. There's a proper type and protocol. I'm glad that Yah, all of my ills, he delivered me as a man. I'm just glad. I didn't know how to care. He delivered me from that. You know why? Because I wanted to know how to care. I wanted to know how to love. I wanted to be kind. I didn't know how to. Not that I was out doing things to people. I didn't know how to. I didn't like not being able to. I didn't like that. I wanted to. Not that I did not want to. I wanted to. I wanted to love. I wanted to be kind. I did. But I wanted to do things right. And so my assessment is the same regardless whether you're small or great. We're all small. Nothing but a speck before Yah. Hallelujah. Yeah. Let me move here quickly. All right, there are two things I want to read quickly. One is in, do I go there? Yeah, I will. I want to go to Lucas. Marcus Luke chapter 19, verse 15. This is the parable or the mashal that YHWH gave concerning, there was a man that he classified as a noble man, one that was rich, and he gave those, his servants, a certain amount of money to look at. Oh, I'm getting a cramp. But I want to begin here at Lucas chapter 19 and verse 15, all right? I want to start here. It says in Lucas 19:15, It said in 1915, and it came to pass that when this noble person that had rendered a certain amount unto his servants, he came back for his usury. Having received the Melchut, the kingdom, then he commanded his servants to be called to him, to whom it says who had given money. He said, I want to know how much you have, every man gained by his enterprise. Well, if I can't make 10,000, then I don't want to make $1. We're the most powerful men in America during the era of the progressive democracy of this country of capitalism. His name was MacArthur. And he was and would be a billionaire super for the amount of money he made in his processing of building one train track at a time. And they asked him one question. How much money do you look to make or you want to have every day? His answer was this, simple. 1 penny at a time. Because I know the penny is going to grow. 1 penny. Not $1 million. Because with my industrialism and my labor, the pennies are going to grow. So I want to make 1 penny at a time. That's what he said. 1 penny at a time. So he gave his servants money. And he came to the first saying, Master, your pound has gained 10 pounds. And he said to him, well, you have done, you tough servant, because you have been faithful in how much? Very little. You have been faithful, and that implies you have managed my affairs. That is what it implies. You have managed, you have taken care of those responsibilities. You have valued the moment of that time. He said, you have been faithful in very little. We must be faithful to adjudicate those things that we perceive they're small in our lives. We must do that, nation. We must refine ourselves as a nation, as a people. We must. I don't care where I go, I see things. I don't preach, I didn't preach in either place that I went. Come on and say, no, I'm fine, you said it now. Because I can be overbearing, but I didn't want to preach. And both places opened the doors for me. That wasn't the purpose. That wasn't the purpose. Say something. Well, I did apologize at one place because I was late. We got lost. And I, with a great apology, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't even feel nice about that. I don't. So that's not the issue. We must be faithful in the little things in me. Those little things. We must be, nation. He said, because you have been faithful in a very little, you have authority. You have great riches. You have authority over 10 cities. If you're not faithful in the little things, adjudicating those things that you know that are not important to the household of YisraYah'ale, you know it has no value. You know that it's not going to bring about a strength, first of all, in you. And it certainly cannot strengthen me. I want to be a strength to everyone that I meet. I want them to see the value of me with them, because I see the value of them with me. There's no great one here in the sense that one is better than the other. Hallelujah. None whatsoever. Let me close with this. Yeah, quickly. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1. And this is what YHWH says. It's one thing that judgment is difficult to hear, isn't it? It's difficult for you to judge yourself. It's difficult. I'm very hard on me. I'm not lying. I don't talk to nobody the way I talk to me. The way I talk to me, I will not talk to anyone that way. And I use some very choice words against me. I'm being honest. YHWH says, I want to give you the essence of one that is faithful with Yah and true. And what is the purpose of the work, or the internal workings of Yah in one? 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1. He says to us, let a man regard all of us as the ministers of Hamashiach and stewards of the mysteries of Yah. I want you to understand, what is a steward? A steward is one that is attentive to every detail of the matter, isn't it? So you must pay attention to detail. You must pay attention to details of me. That's more important than anything. He says, moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found. We must be faithful. We must have emunah. We must be consistent and persistent. And then he says here, but with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged of you. There's nothing that trouble me when someone judged me. That's why I made mention that this person wrote me today, and he used some choice terms against me and said that you're a wicked man. You don't even know me. You've never sat down with me, and you certainly couldn't come work with me. So I clicked on his web page. There's nothing there. No activity, anything like that. You understand? But he has assessed me. That's why I'm not offended. I won't rail against him. I will not respond in a way. It makes me no different. But to the pure and one's heart, we must realize that the smallest of judgment is great. It will grant us great things and cause us to mature in a great manner. Not everyone is mature. Not everyone is mature. That's just the fact of the matter. We all think we are, but not everyone. I meet men and people where I go, women. There was one that I doubted the person listening, and this person is an opera singer, traveled the world and everything, was right here in this state. And I am not one that is not, I'm genuine. And I would tell you, when you're silly, when you're immature, it was amazing that this person didn't fight me. And I was bold. I said, you go, and you left a message. You began to sing, I want to be close by you. I didn't even listen. I deleted it. And I told them that. I said, I don't function in frivolity and foolishness. And the person was still kind. I said, you haven't listened to me because you would have known better. Don't play with me. I don't play with women. I don't have that kind of clownishness. You had known me, you would have known better. Most people hang up on me. She didn't hang up. You're right. See, that's how she responded. You see someone like that, I would give a piece of bread. I would feed them. You understand? He says to us, it's a very small thing. It's a small thing for you to judge me. It should be a small thing for any of us, for one of the house to judge you. Why? He says, it's a small thing that I should be judged of you or of any man's day. Yes. I do not judge. He said, I do not judge my own self. For I know nothing by myself, yet I am not hereby justified. But he that judged me is Yah. His judgment is greater. That's why we must be attentive to those small things that began to collect in our minds and our spirit, and we will be crazy, nation. We will go away from the things of Yah. For the Torah is fulfilled in this one thing, and we have a great love for each other. We must love each other. I don't care if someone is silly, you still love them. All are not with you at the same level. We all are not. We don't have the same degree of understanding. And that's just a fact. I'm not going to condemn my brother because he may do something that I don't do. We must be honest, YisraYah'ale. May the riches of Yah rest upon you all. May His strength cause our heart to delight. I'm going to stop now because I want us to prepare for tomorrow, you all, and I got so many things to do. I want to get ready for Pesach. There's a powerful teaching. I'm going to, what is the last 2 Shabbats in this month? What dates are those? Not this Shabbat will be the 19th. Anyone has a calendar? This will be the 19th, this Shabbat. And then we have what? The 21st and the 27th? Abner, do you have a calendar back there? What are the last 2 Shabbats in this month? Nobody has it. Look back there for me, son. Give me the last 2 Shabbats in this month, because I want to teach and make preparation for the Moedim. I want to teach us things that you've never heard, all right? You haven't heard them. You've never heard it. I'm sorry? Okay, the 23rd and the 30th. I'm going to teach tomorrow this is the 14th, right? Yes. 15, 16, 17, all right. The 23rd, excuse me, 24th and the 31st, that's the okay. I want to show us something on the because there was one yesterday. He was a very arrogant individual, said, well, I don't do things by tradition. We keep the Seder by Shimoth. I said, I want to ask you a question. Where do you find that in Torah the way you keep it? There's no particular, there's no way. Listen, people, I will show you. There's no set order as to keep the Pesach of Yah. We fellowship in the way we do because we enjoy that. But on the Pesach, they were in their homes. They were clothed a certain way. And they ate the Pesach meal and they waited. They sat there and they were quiet and prayed. That's what they did. No, it was no Torah being read in the house because they didn't have it. That everyone had a copy of the Torah. It's silly. So I said to the man, I said, that is tradition. Well, no, you know, we don't do it. I said, you do it just like those, they call themselves Jews. It's no different. I say, show me in the book whereby the Pesach of Yah, or what you call the Seder, you have a certain bone and you got a raw egg. I said, show me where it says that. You don't just crawl up on me thinking you're going to get by. I say, please show me that. So if you add anything to his word, it's a lie. I said, I want you to show me that. And so people will call and write, say, well, I can't buy no lamb's meat. That's so what? You don't have to do that. You don't have to. Now, if you want to buy some. If you don't eat lamb that often, we can go to the herd out here and butcher some. And how many of you all can butcher one of that age in these that call themselves groups and Hebrew Israelites, and they don't butcher no lamb? Can you imagine what that would cost trying to do that for 200 or 300 people? So there is no precise, no order as to what. If we did nothing but sat in our homes and prayed, that's all right. Don't let nobody trick you. I've had them, I can't buy lamb meat. Where can I get some? So I will show us some things on those 2 Shabbats concerning this last one that I will teach on the baptisms. And I use that for people to understand. This Shabbat will be, it will be the meats and the drink offering. Li'olam vi'ad. You're going to learn something you've never heard, all right? I promise you that. I promise you. You can't teach anything in the sense if you're not diligent. I can say that because I'm a student. And I know what I'm teaching. I know what I'm teaching. I know what I'm teaching. It doesn't come from the books of men. It doesn't come from reading. You will never get anything by reading. It comes by the analytical examination of every word. I will show us something when I teach on Pesach. I'm going to teach those two, the next 3 Shabbats. I want to show us something as we make preparation for the Pesach. Those that will be going to be with Achim there and to bless them. We're looking forward to that. Be encouraged, nation. I am. They would say I'm broke. I don't have no money. I have nothing. And that's fact. And I have no checking account. Nothing. The only debit I got is for PayPal and for the community service. They're not mine. It's a business account. You don't mess with that money any kind of way. I'm just telling you the truth. So I have nothing. I'm glad I have nothing. We have each other. Most of all, we have Yah's truth. Be encouraged, nation. Bless you all. Bless you all. Let me say this before I close. I drove all the way. We got, the time was set up. Her alarm clock did not go off because I intended to get up at 3:30 so that I could leave by 4:30. And so I woke up, I awakened, I said, something isn't right. I said, what time is it? It was 5:30, 5:20, 5:20, 5:30, 5:20. And I immediately jumped up. I said, let's get out of here because I wanted to try to beat that traffic. And we hit the road 5:30, 5:20. We hit the road before 6. We were out of there. And I didn't stop but one time. That's it. The only place I stopped when I got to Darlington. I drove all the way because I wanted to get home early. I wanted to eat dinner with us. I wanted to get home. I didn't stop one time. I put it this way, I did not get out of the car one time. I did not get out of the vehicle one time until we got to Darlington. I wanted to get home. See us, all right. Be encouraged. I know how to do things, all right. Let us stand. Hallelujah. I know how to prepare myself when I do things. But all things we do, Barak, are about for your greatness, your kindness, for your watchful care. We pray for the nations scattered abroad and for your kindness. There's nothing greater. Bless you for YisraYah'ale. We bless you for all your riches and your blessings, for your healing power. Touch us all. Give us all proper rest tonight. Touch our babies, our children, our wives, our husbands. Touch them all and heal the nation, your people. We ask these simple blessings of your riches upon us all as a nation and a people scattered abroad. In the blessed name of YHWH HaMashiach, we bless our friends. We pray for our enemies. We mean that from our hearts. In YHWH's mighty name. Hallelujah. 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 YHWH Barak.